The House Select Committee investigating the January 6, 2021, insurrection is set to make announcements at its final public meeting on Monday about criminal referrals to the Justice Department. A referral represents a recommendation that the Justice Department investigate and look at charging the individuals in question. But any move by the January 6 panel to approve a referral would be largely symbolic because a referral by no means obligates federal prosecutors to bring such a case. With the federal investigation now being led by Special Counsel Jack Smith, it appears Justice Department investigators are already looking at much of the conduct that the Select Committee has highlighted. But whether the department brings charges will depend on whether the facts and the evidence support a prosecution, Attorney General Merrick Garland has said. Garland will make the ultimate call on charging decisions. The committee is eyeing multiple alleged crimes for a referral of former President Donald Trump to the Justice Department, CNN reported last week. Among them are insurrection, obstruction of an official proceeding and conspiracy to defraud the federal government, according to a source familiar with the matter. For the latter two, the lawmakers can rely on an opinion from a federal judge in California, who wrote earlier this year that there was evidence that Trump and his allies were plotting to defraud the U.S. government and to obstruct an official proceeding. The opinion was handed down by U.S. District Judge David O. Carter in a dispute over whether the House could access certain emails sent to and from former Trump attorney John Eastman. The judge cited emails discussing Trump's awareness that certain voter fraud claims being made in court were inaccurate as evidence of a plot to defraud the federal government. To explain his finding of evidence of obstruction, the judge pointed to emails that showed that the Trump team was contemplating filing lawsuits not to obtain legitimate legal relief. A House referral for an insurrection charge would be a more aggressive move. It's a crime to assist or engage in any rebellion or insurrection against the authority of the United States or the laws. Judges have used the term insurrection to describe the January 6 attack on Congress's certification of the 2020 presidential election. But the Justice Department has not opted to bring the charge in its hundreds of U.S. Capitol riot cases. Instead, prosecutors have relied on criminal statutes related to violence, obstruction of an official proceeding, and, in some limited cases, seditious conspiracy. Another source cautioned at the time that while names were being considered, there was still discussion to be had before they were finalized.
Twitter to stop users linking to big social media platforms. Twitter says it will shut down accounts solely designed to promote other big social media platforms, or which link off to or contain usernames from them. The move affects content from platforms including Facebook, Instagram, Mastodon, Truth Social, Tribel, Nostr, and Post, the company said in a tweet. But cross-content posting from other sites will still be allowed. On Saturday, Washington Post reporter Taylor Lorenz was suspended for breaking the new rule before it had been formally announced. After being reinstated on Sunday, she posted a link to the tweet she claimed got her barred. Twitter had already blocked users from sharing some links to Mastodon, the platform many Twitter users moved to after Mr. Musk's takeover. But in a series of tweets on Sunday, Twitter said, "We recognize that many of our users are active on other social media platforms. However, we will no longer allow free promotion of certain social media platforms on Twitter. Specifically, we will remove accounts created solely for the purpose of promoting other social platforms and content that contains links or usernames for the following platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Mastodon, Truth Social, Tribel, Nostr, and Post. Any attempts to bypass the restrictions would also be a breach," it added. Those who break the rules for the first time or as in an isolated incident, could be asked to delete the offending tweets or be temporarily locked out of their accounts. But any subsequent offenses will result in permanent suspension, it said. Users can continue to post content to Twitter from prohibited platforms, however, and paid adverts from those sites will still be allowed. There has been flurry of controversial changes at Twitter since Mr. Musk bought the social media site for $44 billion in October. The billionaire's approach to content moderation has also been criticized, with some civil liberties groups accusing him of taking steps that will increase hate speech and misinformation. On Friday, he reinstated a number of journalists he had suspended for allegedly sharing location data about him after the EU and UN called it an attack on press freedom. Reporters for the New York Times, CNN, and the Washington Post were among those locked out of their accounts.
How to make applesauce. A photograph that made time stand still. How to make applesauce. A photograph that made time stand still. In Snap, we look at the power of a single photograph, chronicling stories about how both modern and historical images have been made. Exploding with energy but perfectly still, Harold Doc Edgerton's 1964 image of a .30 caliber bullet ripping through an apple showed an otherwise unseeable moment in captivating detail. The scene took on a serene, sculptural beauty as the disintegrating apple's skin burst open against a deep blue backdrop. The picture is widely viewed as a work of art. More importantly to its creator, however, it was also a feat of electrical engineering. The longtime Massachusetts Institute of Technology professor used it to illustrate a lecture, famously titled, How to Make Applesauce, in which he explained the pioneering flash technology that helped him take the shot. Edgerton, who died in 1990 aged 86, is considered the father of high-speed photography. Camera shutter speeds were too slow to capture a bullet flying at 2,800 feet per second. But his stroboscopic flashes, a precursor to modern-day strobe lights, created bursts of light so short that a well-timed photograph, taken in an otherwise dark room, made it appear as if time had stood still. The results were mesmerizing and, often, messy. We used to joke that it took a third of a microsecond to take the picture, and all morning to clean up, recalled his former student and teaching assistant, J. Kim Vandiver, on a video call from Massachusetts. While early camera operators had experimented with pyrotechnic, flash powders that combined metallic fuels and oxidizing agents to produce a short, bright chemical reaction, Nebraska-born Edgerton created a flash that was far shorter and easier to control. His breakthrough was more a matter of physics than chemistry. After he arrived at MIT in the 1920s, he developed a flash tube filled with xenon gas that, when subjected to high voltage, would cause electricity to jump between two electrodes for a fraction of a second. By the time he fired the shutter for his now famous Apple photo, Edgerton had developed a microflash that used plain air rather than xenon. He had also produced decades worth of well-known images. Yet, it was his 1960s bullet photos that proved some of this most memorable. According to Vandiver, who still works at MIT as a mechanical engineering professor, the challenge wasn't producing a flash but setting the camera off at just the right time. Human reactions were too slow to take the photo manually, so Edgerton used the sound of the bullet itself as a trigger. There would be a microphone out of the picture, just down below, Vandiver said. So, when the shock wave from the bullet hit the microphone tripped the flash and then you'd close the. Over the years, Edgerton and his students took a rifle to objects including bananas, balloons and playing cards. For Vandiver, the reason why the apple, along with a 1957 image of a splashing milk droplet, became one of Edgerton's defining photographs is, in part, its simplicity. It catches your imagination and you immediately understand what it is, he said. There was another factor at play. The compositional beauty of his images saw them republished in newspapers and magazines around the world, and over 100 of his photos are held by the Smithsonian American Art Museum today. Yet Edgerton rejected the additional title. "Don't make me out to be an artist," he has been quoted as saying. "I am an engineer. I am after the facts, only the facts." While Vandiver said, "There's definitely an artistic legacy to Edgerton's visual experiments, which advanced the field of photography, his research has greatly impacted science and industry, too." His hands-on approach lives on at MIT's Edgerton Center, which was established in his honor in 1992. Vandiver, who serves as the center's director, said every student is encouraged to take a bullet photograph of their own. "We still teach the course, and students still think of weird things to take pictures of," he said, recalling recent images of colored chalk and lipstick torn apart by bullets. "Apples are boring now.